Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Sometimes people in the workplace have to use their charisma to please customers, but the boss of our OP decided differently and regretted it. But in the end, the story ended well, so don't worry. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. No more jokes at work? You got it, boss. A few years back, I worked the front desk in a small hotel, just over 60 rooms, in a small town in upstate New York that you really only came to if you were visiting the nearby colleges or the Finger Lakes area in general. I'd been at this job for about a year when this story takes place. I'm a very informal guy in general, even at work. I'm still professional, of course, but I like to have fun. So when someone comes in, I joke around with them, make fun of myself, just trying to make their day a little better than it was a few minutes ago. My thought process was if I'm able to put them in a better mood, then they're more likely to enjoy the hotel and their trip in general. Also, it was more likely they would remember me and mention my name on a TripAdvisor review, which my bosses liked to see, as it showed that the front desk were making good enough impressions on our guests that they would remember our names. Anyway, so the day in question comes around in the late fall/early winter, and we aren't too busy. I'm working the 3 to 11 shift, which is mostly check-ins, helping alleviate any problems that our guests have during the time I'm there, and giving recommendations for where they should go to eat for the night and see in the morning. Standard stuff, really. The husband and wife arrive and check in with me, smooth as butter, no problems with their payment information or anything. Give them their keys, and off they go to their room. I don't see or talk to them again until they come back down to the desk a few minutes later to ask me about local restaurants and attractions, which is where I made my mistake. The conversation went something like this. Wife, so what's there to do in this town? Me, completely deadpan. Nothing. I waited about 2 beats before laughing to show I wasn't serious and explained that I was just kidding around. The husband laughed and the wife kind of tisked. But I thought, oh well, you can't get them every time. I then handed them a list of restaurants and told them my recommendations based on what kind of food they were looking for and what activities I would recommend if they wanted to stay in town or if they were willing to drive a little bit to see some cool stuff. They both gladly took the info I gave them and went along their way. I didn't see them again for the rest of their stay. Coming in for my next shift after a few days off, one of my bosses told me she was very angry with me and told me to check out our latest TripAdvisor reviews. I did so and saw that a review was left saying that OP made this woman feel like a moron for staying in this town because I told her there was nothing to do or see and that no one ever stays in this town if they know better, which of course is not what I said at all. Fun fact, we still got a 3 out of 5 rating. The great thing about my bosses was, as overbearing as they were at times, they always stood by and believed in their employees. I told my boss my side of the story, and she calmed a little and said, I believe you, but no more jokes, no more fun, okay? I don't want to have this kind of thing happen again. If you've ever worked in hospitality, you know how important TripAdvisor reviews are. So I understood where she was coming from, but asking me not to tell jokes is like telling a cat not to meow. It goes against my nature. But hey, she pays my wage, so I'll do it, which is where my evil plan comes in. For the next few days, I didn't tell any jokes at work, but to try to make it a little more exciting, I also spoke in a complete monotone, remained stone-faced at all times, and tried as hard as I could to make it look like I was having no fun at all, while still doing all the tasks of the job I had to do and being completely professional at all times. It only took a few more days for another TripAdvisor review to come in and say something to the effect of, hotel was great, but staff, while professional, is lifeless and seems to hate their strict working environment. This probably falls on management's shoulders, so I don't blame the staff themselves too much. We got a 2 out of 5 rating. I'm sure I don't need to tell you the end of this story, but guess who was allowed to actually make the guests feel more welcome by being fun and friendly again? That's right, this guy. P.S. For anyone who's curious, this is my favorite joke. A snake walks into a bar. The bartender says, "How the hell did you do that?" And our second story. His name was Charles. Working McDonald's drive-thru. No speaker, 2 order windows, and a 3rd pickup window. Charles is working window 1, I'm working window 2. Charles is black, ripped, tall, huge, has prison tats all down his arms, somewhere between half an ounce or 2 of fat on his body. Picture Terry Crews with darker skin and black tats to the wrists. Charles is equal parts charming, soft-spoken, humble, and ambitious. He knew where he'd been and was determined to change his life. Probably one of the best men I'll have ever met. Enter green minivan. We had both taken orders at the same time, and mine was long gone. Charles' order was taking forever, probably 4 minutes just taking the order before payment. I come over to check on Charles. Before I got close, I notice he's blocking the frame of the window so I can't hear anything. It's an awkward position for him and blatantly obvious. He moves his hand out to me out of sight of the van and gives me the stop sign. Back off, got it. Time passes. Manager on duty comes out to check the issue. He waves her off. She protests. I tell her to wait and see. Something's deeply wrong. Suddenly, Charles points the van down to the other window and leaps into action, slams the window, shoves past us without a word, and races to the 3rd window. Manager and I look at each other, check for other cars, none, then follow at a distance. Manager had been running the order, but Charles took over and personally handled every part of the order with the speed of a madman and quality of a 5-star restaurant. He grabs a new batch of fries, he has the cook triple check each burger, he breaks a cardinal rule of the store and shows the van all the kids' meal toys we have for personal preference. Drinks and condiments are handed out, and Charles gives them a genuine smile and enthusiastically thanks them for being customers. Have a great night. We'll see you soon. Charles waits until they're out of sight before returning from the window and, visibly shaken, walks back to his register. Manager starts to fuss about an explanation she's owed, but Charles just says he can't yet. His legendary Zen calm is severely damaged. After a few minutes to get a drink, wipe the sweat off his face, and compose himself, he opens up. Van had rolled up. Charles had greeted them with the usual, "Welcome to McDonald's, what can I get you this evening?" and his winning smile. Father waits for Charles to finish and with a loud sneer had turned to the wife for all to hear and say, "You order, hun. I don't talk to thugs." Wife turns to the 2 young kids, probably 8 and 10, impressionable, learning, watching. They had locked eyes on Charles. They'd seen his tats. They'd listened to the hateful otherizing of those people from birth. Charles decided that he had it within him to reach for something better. Father be damned, he's long gone. Charles decided that he had a message for those boys. The wife patiently and sheepishly took the excruciatingly and needlessly complicated order from the father and then had to speak past him to Charles. Same for the kids. Light mustard, 3 pickles, etc. Perfectionism. Charles reached down inside himself for something that neither I nor the manager possessed, and he gave the wife a genuine smile as he whipped out the order. The father knew he'd been served a dish he thought impossible to serve. It was served with kindness and compassion, and a compliance that defied everything he'd told them about those people. The kids both waved to Charles from the back of the van as the father pulled away. They liked their new friend. Dude, you had me so effing worried that it was some people from his past that caught up to him. I was worried for Charles for the whole duration of this story. And our last story. Entitled lady hits us with her car and sues. This happened some time ago, about 4 or 5 years. My mom was once hit by a car next to my house while we were waiting for my cousin to finish talking with her followers. She's a pretty big influencer, about 40K followers, in an IG Direct. As we started pulling out, there was no one in the street. But halfway out comes this speeding car at 130 kilometers an hour, I kid you not, in a 60 kilometer an hour area. And when they see my car pulling out, they hit the brakes. It did stop a bit, yes, but still collided with us and left a dent in our car. My mother had backed when she saw the speeding car, but couldn't help not getting hit. A woman in her 40s, after collision, comes out and starts berating my mother through her window. I still remember the alcohol smell as I was in the car, and she smelled truly like a bottle of Jägermeister. She started spurting out racist comments as my mother's from another place with a thick accent, though she's from the same country, while calling the police. Lo and behold, the cops come rolling, and this massive idiot starts complaining to the police in a condescending tone towards us, And every time my mother wanted to explain the situation, she just started incoherently screaming so she couldn't be heard. It looked like a circus. And while my mother was talking to the police officer, who looked like he was about to hit someone, I went up to talk to my cousin. I asked her if she'd seen what happened, and she said yes, as she had seen it in her background while she was in the direct, and she was commenting it right now. She had it on the direct, and I told her to save it just in case. Boy, did I hit it right. When the officer finished with my mother, he just said to pay the drunken lad's insurance. My mother was furious. She was the one speeding. The cop said that he hadn't seen what happened, and this looked like if she had pulled out without watching for anyone. My mother started getting real upset and angry and started demanding to file an internal complaint, but he just walked away into his car and just went off. I approached my mom just as the drunken lady was spitting on her just out of spite, saying that was an expensive car and that she didn't know who she was. She sued. Now, I wasn't in the court date as I was at school, but my mom told me what happened, so here it goes. My mother took a duty lawyer and went straight to court. She presented the direct my cousin had done that clearly showed the speeding and the collision. The jerk had tried to sue for damages, no insurance policy, BS, she didn't even ask for it, we do have it, and emotional damage. She sued her for speeding, unruly use of law, damages for the car, racism, and emotional damage. We didn't once say she was drunk, as it was clearly visible, and they just shrug it off. We got to defend ourselves. Her lawyer did well, almost got us. She said she had been speeding, but that she didn't hit the brakes soon enough, but then she opened her mouth. Drunken lady. WTF did you expect me to do, huh? You can't ask a drunk person to do more than that. Jeez, you're just being jerks because you don't have insurance, right? She lumped back into her seat with a smug face. Her lawyer looked at her mortified, and the judge looked at her with wide eyes. My mother just smiled without believing it. Judge. So, let me get this straight. You were drunk? Drunken lady. Yes, I just got out from my husband's company meeting. Judge. Do you know what? I think I don't need to hear anything else. My mother won the lawsuit. The lady was a footballer's wife, and they'd been in a party with all their team. She was pee-drunk and went home in one of their cars and then hit my mother's car. We won chunk money, and she was sent on probation and some jail time, because the drunken part just added public disturbance, public peril, and negligence. Here you go, some friggin' karma. This bee had it coming. How the hell do the cops ignore the fact that she was driving drunk? They should get their butts fired. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.